Hey everybody, and welcome to the 27th episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I am joined as always by a fellow geek who I grew up with, my brother Rob.
A fellow geek who you grew up with. I like it. Not
a man wrought from the same loins.
Just a geek that you grew up with, you know.
No, you are my official broheme. Check the paperwork.
Yeah.
And we are here geeking out.
Woo!
How was your week this week, man?
My week was it was pretty good. I'm right now feeling a little irked from a fundraiser I passed by while I was out getting some coffee. It was actually in the coffee house.
Okay.
And I don't know. Everything was wrought with wrongness as I looked at it. Okay. It was for the Hope organization, and they kind of they help people with depression and suicidal thoughts. Yeah. So people can call them up. First thing I noticed that I kind of was like, this is iffy. Their number is 1-800-SUICIDE.
Ooh.
Which
maybe sends the wrong message.
If I'm debating if I'm going to kill myself in my lifetime, maybe...
1-800-HOPE maybe would have been better?
Exactly. Hope now or something like that, but not...
1-800-KILL-YOURSELF, yeah.
And the other thing was, had I not bought coffee there, they threatened to kick me out if I didn't give them $10.
Okay, a little aggressive.
Yeah, I was thinking of walking out and just being, well, I'm going to go kill myself now.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But no, I mean, as far as a fundraiser is concerned, I'm like, aren't they supposed to be raising awareness? And then, you're enjoying the music, and at some point they say, by the way, this is for this thing, give us money. Not like, give us money or leave, even though you know nothing about this. So, good week except for that.
Yeah, and I have one question for you. Did they put the fun in fundraiser?
No. They took the fun out of fundraiser, so it was more of just a drazer.
It was just a drazer. I like that.
Yeah.
As for my week, I'd like to test your dream interpretation skills here.
Tell me your dream.
I woke up this week and I rolled over and said, I just dreamed that we bought a unicorn. And we got a good deal on it because someone had cut its horn off, I guess. So it was kind of like just a white horse. But it had like a hole where the horn had been. My wife apparently bought this, and then she was saying, well, don't worry, I bought a bag of feed for it. And I was saying, well, how long does that last? And she said, well, about a week. And then I thought, okay, well, where are we putting it? But suddenly we had this large house with like an acre of land and all these stables. So we put the horse in the stable. Well, the unicorn, I guess, the hornless unicorn. We put it in the stables, and then the last thought I had right before I woke up was, oh my gosh, who's going to clean up all this unicorn crap? And then I just sort of awoke in a sweat, I guess. So I don't know. Is there any possible dream interpretation that you can offer for that, or am I just messed up?
Oh, well, Brad, I hate to tell you this.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to have a drazer for you as well.
I guess so.
Unicorns, they always represent magical mysticism and stuff.
Okay.
And you're just, in the cutting off of the horn means that, well, you're...
My manhood?
Manhood. Yeah, that's your manhood being taken away by your marriage. And
ouch. Only 1 year in, and already I've been dehorned, I guess. I don't know.
And demystified. You're losing your belief in magic.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think if anybody else can help us out, just, go to the comments section underneath the show and just leave us your brief interpretation of what that dream could mean, because I'm interested in knowing what other people might think.
Yeah, help a brother out. Well, okay, so on that note, why don't we move to Geek News? This week there was actually one news story that permeated both of our minds, and so we're actually going to sort of tag team on this. And that was the Worldwide Developers Conference, or the WWDC, in California, I believe.
It doesn't matter where it was. It was held over the internet.
It was held on the internet. Okay, yeah. Virtual people attended it, and Apple unveiled, as they always do, plenty of new products there, and a new updates to some old products. And so I think we're just going to bounce back and forth here with some of our favorites. But the biggest one, of course, is the iPhone 3G.
Yeah.
Which admittedly is something that should have probably been in the first generation of iPhone, but that didn't stop the crowd from freaking out. And so iPhone 3G, and of course the big news with that as well is that it will be $199 to start. Your thoughts on that?
Well, there's very little that can stop an Apple crowd from freaking out when Steve Jobs holds up any white box.
Right,
you know?
Right.
Seeing it at half price was really what perked my attention whenever I saw it announced, I knew, it's inevitable. They're going to go 3G. They're going to be as fast as other phones, but...
Can you explain real quickly to the audience 3G versus Edge? That was the old network.
Yeah, 3G versus Edge. Well, Edge, or also called 2G, that kind of stands for second generation cellular technology. Mm-hmm. Edge basically gets you up to like where dial-up speeds are when you're downloading web pages and things like that.
It may even be a little worse. I mean, if anyone's used the iPhone without the Wi-Fi enabled, it's pretty slow.
Yeah, that was kind of the trade-off there, because you could use Wi-Fi on the iPhone and still get the fast broadband speeds. Now, 3G was developed later, the third generation, and it is trying to achieve broadband speeds over cellular networks so that even if you're not near a Wi-Fi hub, you can still download web pages and web content at speeds that you should be used to by now, like around the house and stuff.
Yeah, they claim that it's about 2.5% faster, I think, 2 to 3 times faster. So okay. So, and what do you think of this price drop? I mean, this to me puts it right into the sweet spot of dangerously close to where I need to get one of these. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I saw that, I was like, oh, now I really am considering getting one, especially because I'm nearing that time where my old phone is dying and the 2-year contract is up, and I'm just
perfect
starting to wonder. But there's an interesting hitch, and this was revealed in another news story, that even though the price of the 3G iPhone is down to $200, the data plan that AT&T is providing it is up $10.
Right.
Okay.
Mm. And what does that bring it to? Like $70 or something?
Yeah. Well, if you do the math, They figured out that it's actually over the course of 2 years, you'll be spending $160 more on the new phone than people spent on the original phone.
Ouch.
$160 over the course of 2 years for over twice the speed.
Right.
And the added GPS feature that gives, which after using my Helio Drift, which has GPS in it, I can't live without GPS in my phone because it's just so great.
Does yours talk?
No. Mine doesn't talk. Because it's not really meant to be used while driving. They warn you actually when it's starting up, like, don't use this while driving because it's just on your phone. Right. But mine connects to Google Maps, as does the iPhones. And Google Maps is great because you can really just type in something general. You're like, I'm in the mood for barbecue, and I want to find the nearest one. And then you just type in barbecue, and it'll drop down like based on your location where you are, and that's pretty neat. But also they were talking about how they're allowing people who are writing applications to take advantage of the GPS. And one guy showed off this kind of what some might call the buddy beacon or other things where you can actually pull up a map and find other friends in your area with GPS-enabled phones. Mm-hmm. And there you can just see like, my friend John is nearby over in this corner. Maybe we can get together and have some coffee because he's in town, and like...
Yeah, is that bordering on maybe a privacy issue, do you think? Like a stalker type thing?
Well, only if you're not able to disable that. I know that with Helio, they have the buddy beacon, and you can enable or disable it. You can have your privacy, and it'll often only give like a general coordinate. It won't say like specifically where you are.
Todd is in my house. But yeah, GPS good.
GPS good.
And I think we could probably end on the new App Store feature, which is an icon on your iPhone now that will allow you to purchase apps directly through the phone interface. Yeah. And one of the apps that they displayed was Super Monkey Ball by Sega, which is a pretty famous console game by now, but it uses the accelerometer of the iPhone to actually
the tilty support.
the tilty support, the gesture-based support to actually turn like that old wooden labyrinth game and rotate the monkey ball as it. I assume that's the term, as it flies down these tracks and paths in 3D actually, which I was wondering how much 3D power the iPhone had.
Yeah, it actually has full OpenGL support. It's no slouch at all, and these games were definitely evidence of that.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody running like a Half-Life mod or something on an iPhone, albeit with very strange control.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it has apparently the ability to play some semi-next-gen looking games. And so, I mean, all told, what you get in this new iPhone is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But you do got to weigh out the cost. If it is like you said it is, it's going to be a little pricey.
But I mean, they talked about added carrier support, like because they're going multinational with it. And I mean, a lot of the European places like O2 and stuff like that were listed on there, and but they did mention T-Mobile. And T-Mobile is a European company, but they do obviously have a presence in America. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'll wait and see if iPhone gets on T-Mobile in America, and then you'll actually have competition to bring the prices to a more like reasonable level as far as the service is concerned.
Yes, competition is good.
Always.
So that is Geek News for this week. Pretty much all about WWDC. You can find out more about that online. And we look forward to seeing where the iPhone goes.
Yeah.
So now let's move to our main topic of discussion this week, which is
Ninja Gaiden 2 on the Xbox 360. Ninja Gaiden is a video game franchise that's been around since the old 8-bit Nintendo.
Oh, yes.
It is, something of great notoriety, especially in our geek past. I remember, I believe I dressed up as Ninja Gaiden.
You did?
For a costume party we had once.
Yeah, you totally did.
You were Mega Man. And Matt was Bayou Bill, which kind of didn't catch on as much.
Yeah, I don't think history looks back fondly on Bayou Bill for some reason.
Yeah, but people might remember Ninja Gaiden for awesome MIDI music, hard difficulty, of course rebounding off of walls to get to higher platforms.
Yeah, that in fact I was a little disappointed that they didn't have more of that kind of just single flip up the side of walls.
Yeah, so now they've brought that formula into 3D. Well, they brought it into 3D with on the Xbox a while back.
Yeah.
And finally, the Xbox Ninja Gaiden went through several revisions.
It did, yeah.
So the game has been just remade with no true sequels until now, and so it's kind of a pretty exciting thing, like having flushed out the formula so much with the first game to see where this game lands. And so you played the demo.
Yes.
So what were your opinions on it so far?
I didn't really like it that much. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And, by saying that, I'm not saying anything new. Everybody knows that Ninja Gaiden is basically a kick-your-butt kind of game. I mean, literally going back to those old-school 8-bit memories while I'm playing, it's like, this is hard,
Yeah.
A very unforgiving enemy assaults coming in from all directions. But I did beat the demo, and as I was kind of wailing my way through the game, I found that what was happening on the screen was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of attacks and flourishes and ninja magic and swords chopping up. If you were just to watch the screen, you'd be pretty impressed. And it's very gory. There's a lot of heads flying everywhere and stuff, and it's like, wow, what are you playing? And then pan down to my controller where I am just pressing the Y button over and over and over again. So I felt as if this is a little bit more like the Killer Instinct, if I can use an old reference, or maybe something a little bit newer, the Dead or Alive. I don't know, something where you just smash on a button masher, basically. I don't feel like my skill in any way helped me to get through this demo. I think it was just a series of button mashes, but ultimately I didn't find it to be that interactive of an experience. On the upside, the graphics are great. They're extremely detailed. Ryu Hayabusa is the main character. He looks great. He's got all kind of daggers hanging off of him, and his mouth moves under his mask when he talks. Cutscenes look awesome. In fact, the last cutscene in this demo was, I think, the best real-time cutscene that I've seen in a long time in a video game. I really was impressed by that. So graphics are great, atmosphere is good, but just a little bit too, I guess, scripted for me in how much is just sort of done for you. So yeah, those are my 2 cents. What did you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I, on the other hand, had enough time to actually rent the game, and I've been playing through it. I would estimate that I'm about halfway through, because apparently there are like 4 great bosses that you have to fight, and probably a 5th, but I've made it through 2 of them. Yeah, the interesting thing, I'm actually very much enjoying the game.
Cool.
As a Ninja Gaiden fan, I was happy to see that the story actually reflects more on what the 8-bit games were about than what the original Xbox game was about.
Kind of demons and things?
Yeah, the Xbox Ninja Gaiden was about the Dragon Sword, which I think appeared in Ninja Gaiden 3 on the NES, or I'm not quite sure, but
I think that was the subtitle, actually.
Yeah, and so that was pretty cool. This one goes back to what appears in Ninja Gaiden 1, which is the Archfiend, which is like this little statue people might remember seeing. It kind of has just like a big head, and like this kind of weird looking thing, but it has like the power to awaken fiends, or what we'd probably call demons. From like Mount Fuji and stuff. Pretty cool, at least to see a shout back to that.
Yeah.
It is a button masher in one respect, because you can just keep hitting the X and the Y buttons, and you'll get some pretty impressive stuff going on. But definitely the game gets challenging as you move on to a degree where you have to start knowing what you're doing.
Okay.
As with any kind of fighting game franchise, if you pause the game and go to your weapons, you can look up techniques that are very similar to what you'll see in Dead or Alive, where it's like XXX, Y, X, forward, X, There are actually parts in the game where it becomes frustratingly hard. And unless you are quite adept to using your weapons and your skills as best you can, you're probably not going to make it through easily. I mean, there is a little luck involved every once in a while, but you're going to have to mash that thing out. For people who are free during the summer, it's a good time probably to get into it and like have some late nights of just ninja-ing. But for people who have probably a harder work schedule or just can't invest that kind of time into gaming, I couldn't recommend this game that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with the camera angles. I just wanted to throw in there real quick. Like, it shows you the section they want you to see first, and then you can click a button to switch it to behind your perspective. But I found that I had to keep doing that. So, I think there's definitely something there for the person who wants a challenge.
Yeah.
And it does have awesome, huge swords. Some of the largest that I've seen in a video game before. So, for pure sword content, if that's what you're going for, this game has really big swords. So, I will leave it at that. If that's your thing, hey, go for it. Ninja Gaiden. Or, as some people say, Ninja Gaiden. Well, we don't accept that.
Or Ninja Guy Dan.
Ninja Guy Dan. I believe Dan is the character, isn't he?
Ryu Hayabusa.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's pretty
and
lame.
Your dad, Joe? Can I just be like, all right?
Yeah.
It's like, we have Ryu and Joe.
Is your dad really named Joe?
I think that might have been like in America. They changed his name around, but they kept that intact for this game.
In the 80s, the arcade game had that famous scene where his dad gets killed at the beginning, and I always remember that.
Well, he sort of seems to get killed. You're not really sure what happens.
That's right.
Two ninjas jump into the air of the moonlight and both slash each other, and then both land and one falls to the ground dead. It was a pretty memorable scene and pretty cool.
Yep. And which one survived? You be the judge. We're not saying. But, okay, so that is Ninja Gaiden 2 for the Xbox. Check it out if that's your thing. And, speaking of 80s arcade ninjas, why don't we take a look at some nostalgia before we close out our show?
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of kind of inappropriate scenes in children's movies over the years. A lot of cartoons that had very uncartoon-like content that we watched as kids. And I wanted to kind of throw out just sort of a quick list, if we could, of the most messed up scenes in supposed child's fare that we experienced as kids.
Yeah, I remember, I've always been a huge fan of the Loch Ness Monster growing up, and we were at our local library as kids, and we saw that there was this video there, and all I saw was, on the cover, there was a kid riding an animated Loch Ness Monster, and I was like, ooh, Mom, I want to watch this. But what I did not realize was actually this was a video for an animation festival. So there were many animated shorts on this thing, one of which was The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe.
Right, and just quickly for the audience, that's a story in which a guy kills his uncle, I guess, because of his hideous eye, and buries his body under the floorboards, where the guy's beating heart drives him mad.
It's not something I was prepared for at all as a kid.
Yeah,
we put this thing on, and I remember the image of the guy's heart beating and getting to a point where I think it exploded.
Yeah,
and I got scared to death as a kid that my heart was gonna explode.
That's right. You were worried about that.
And I don't know if I ever actually did get around to watching the Nessie cartoon.
Yeah.
I think I was just too scared of that video.
Oh yeah, you were terrified. And a Disney Channel committed several of these, I think, grievances. And one that I remember is Unico and the Island of Dreams, which is an anime about a unicorn, cutesy-looking unicorn, but it runs into a sorcerer who turns people into wooden figurines and builds a castle out of them. And there was some real freaky stuff in there. I mean, the sorcerer, of course, we always remember this line. He would float around in his glass ball saying, "Oh, Toby." Pure nightmare fuel is what that is for a kid. Yeah. The Invisible Boy comes to mind, a movie that had frontal female nudity in a PG. And maybe I shouldn't give that away if there's any kids listening, but yeah, our parents rented it.
It was a PG movie.
Yeah, it was a PG movie about a kid that went invisible, and there you go, boom, didn't expect that. Goes into a girl's locker room, and it's like, Mom, what's this?
Right. Yeah, kind of not good.
Peanut Butter Solution had the scene where the kid put peanut butter on his crotch, and it was like a hair growth formula, the peanut butter.
Yeah.
And I remember there's one scene where he's like, "Where did you put it?" And the kid just points towards his crotch, and then it's like this Asian boy wakes up in the middle of the night, and there's hair pouring out of his pant legs. Child friendly? I don't know. I mean, you tell me.
What about the Black Cauldron?
The Black Cauldron was actually for adults. I think they got into trouble with that because it was Disney's first big adult cartoon. And maybe their only one. Jeez.
Well, not adult cartoon, but cartoon
it's a word that's often misused, I guess. But yeah, it was targeted towards adults, and it was sort of more D&D than the Mickey Mouse. And I know they got into some trouble with that one. Disney made a whole lot of movies that ended up on the Disney Channel, which we thought was safe to watch, and it led to us seeing things like The Black Hole, which stars Robot Hell as an image to scar you at the end, and a shot that I swear, and it's been so long since I've seen it, but a shot that I swear is of like a ghost floating down a hallway. I mean, they just pound you in the last few seconds of that movie with like frightening imagery.
Night on Bald Mountain in Fantasia.
Yes.
They would feature that between shows. They would show that in the commercial breaks.
Yeah, they'd be like,
just like, "Here, kid, here's some nightmare fuel."
Yeah. Hey, you just watched Darkwing Duck. Now let's scar your soul.
I know.
And then Night on Bald Mountain plays, and the demon rises up. Maybe nobody was watching The Shop back then. It certainly seems like there's more sensitivity. You know, with the new Sesame Street box DVD being rated R or not for children. It certainly shows that there's more sensitivity towards that kind of thing now.
I think what starts to where a lot of this comes from is just poor labeling or poor representation going in as to what the content of certain things are. Right. There's this perception of, obviously, if it's a cartoon, if it's animated, it must be for kids, in America. Right. And obviously, like, a lot of other cultures don't share that view. The French, the Spanish, Japanese especially. So when it gets over to America and people are like, "Oh, what's this cartoon called Vampire Hunter D?" It must be for kids. No, there's things getting cut in half and nudity in that movie.
No, Grandpa, no.
Exactly. I remember, speaking of grandparents, when we went over to Grandma's house and she was trying to entertain us kids and didn't have much in her video library, but she did have something that was animated. And
that's what she called it, yeah.
And we ended up sitting there watching a video about tick removal.
Yeah, it's totally true. All right, kids, strip down and check for chiggers and ticks.
Exactly. Yay, here's how it enters the bloodstream.
Well, it was animated, and we sat in her cold house amidst her Bell collection enjoying that.
Absolutely.
That is going to be our show pretty much for this week. If you have any nostalgic memories about being a geek growing up, please send them to mail@growing-up-geek.com. And if we like them, we will read them on the show. So that is going to do it for this week. Once again, my name is Brad.
And I'm the Ninja Guy, Dan.
and we'll catch you next week.